Howdy, y'all. Troy here, your community manager for all things Crusader Kings related, to bring you a special presentation about Crusader Kings III coming to consoles soon. With me today, I have Justin Forrest, the design director from Lab 42 Games, as well as Alexander Oltner, the game director for Crusader Kings here at Paradox. We're here today to discuss all the things coming to the console edition and to drill into and deep dive all the differences and compare some of our favorite features. Without much further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Alexander and let him tell you a little bit more about it.
Alright, so Crusader Kings is a very big and complex and fun game, and it's been exclusively available to PC players for a long time, but really there's nothing saying that this game shouldn't also be enjoyed by people sitting on their sofa playing on a console, right? So I know it's been challenging, but do you want to talk a little bit about how challenging it's been?
Lab 42 have got a huge amount of experience within console development. And so taking on this project, which is such a superb core game, and trying to adapt it to console in the best possible way was, I would say, one of the most challenging things I've done within over 20 years within the industry. And it took some real innovation in terms of the approaches that we took. And we really had to think outside of the box. Because I think it required a kind of unique treatment. You couldn't just cookie cut the adaptation. You couldn't say, right, we're just going to follow that template and just apply it. I have to say that the relationship between Paradox and Lab 42 all the way through the development process was excellent, and I think without that clear coordination, I think we would have struggled. But I think that's been a real boon to the project, and I'm really pleased with where we are.
I think for both parties, honestly, it's been interesting to see all the thought you've put into this and how it's working. Let's be honest here, playing the game requires you to look all over the screen all at once, and really, as you mentioned, a mouse is what you need, or so we thought.
The UI needed unique treatment, and then there were features that really didn't come from any other game that we could look at and compare. We had to come up with solutions ourselves. For instance, the switching focus feature, I mean, that's something I haven't really seen in a console game. In a way, it kind of mimics the way that you can quickly navigate across the screen on mouse just by using the right stick to flick between any open menus or the map itself. The quick access bar, that's another key area. The basic idea there is to take any active process which is running in the game and then allowing the user to quickly access that process and flick between any active processes and then select any of those to open up the appropriate menu. So it's almost like a shortcut which works on console, which you didn't need on PC because you've got so many shortcuts anyway.
And what you did really was to not look at what people do, but what they want to have done, right? It's the experience that's been translated, not the controls.
It would have been arrogant of us to even consider trying to change the core of the game that you guys designed and developed. It's such an excellent game. Why would we ever want to touch that? So really the focus was on trying to replicate that kind of user experience that you get through, the immersion that you get through the PC title, and translating that onto console so console users could gain the same kind of experience.
So you've done this really truthful translation of the PC game, but the consoles have features unique to them, right? And you've leveraged a lot of them to make the experience on consoles stand out.
This was never seen as being a port. This is a proper adaptation, in my opinion. And it actually required a lot of design thinking for what features would enhance that experience for console users. I'll kind of go through some examples. Automated warfare. This is a console-specific feature. This is designed really for those players who don't want to micromanage their army and maybe want to focus on the dark arts of intrigue or, perfecting the bloodlines of the dynasty. So you've got the ability to be able to switch between automated or manual control of your armies and warfare. Now, this also allows for some advanced controls in there where you can go and set specific things associated with automated warfare. One of those features which really is designed for console but may make its way back to PC. That's always the aim that I have with design, is that ultimately if you come up with a really good feature, there's no reason why it can't translate back onto the original platform.
It fits the game really well. I think it's just a finely crafted feature.
So stress is a big part of the game. It's probably something you want to just talk about quickly, Alexander, before I deep dive into what we've done with it.
Why not? Stress is tied to your character, and the less you act like your character would, the more stress you accrue. It can also be accrued by, your friends dying or your family dying, and your character will slowly lose their mind when you ascend into the higher levels of stress. That's when this feature kicks in, right?
What we tried to do in a way was try to replicate the feeling of stress on the controller itself. We use the trigger resistance, and the triggers are used to activate or invoke some of the key menus of the game. So we've got what we call the command bar on the console, which is your realm, your military, your courts, your council. That's displayed at the top of the screen on console, and you navigate through those menus using either of the triggers. If you want to open up the character radial, which has got aspects of the character which you could deep dive into, like the dynasty menu, etc., that is done through holding in the left trigger, and then the right trigger brings up all the various different map views in the game. So these are very well used controls. And if you apply stress to those triggers with the trigger resistance, you start to replicate for the user that feeling of stress within your character. So it's just a nice little way of kind of adding an extra tier of immersion to the game and really looking at the console specific features and trying to marry them with the Crusader Kings experience. I mean, when we get big events happening in game, like the death of a child or an heir, then those events within the game also use haptics. So on the PS5, you'll get unique rumbles and motion within the controller itself. And then you get local controller audio coming out with music, which is unique to those specific events. So really, we've just tried to pinpoint where the console could enhance specific features of the original game and how those translate onto the controller.
Well, Justin, Alexander, thank you so much. I know both of our teams are working hard to make sure we bring this entire vision to reality, and we hope you all look forward to it as much as we do. We'll see y'all around.